begin the program with some welcoming remarks by Consul General Kadri Dakai from the Consulate General of the Republic of Kosovo in Toronto.
Thank you very much, Canada. Thank you very much. Je vais parler un petit peu en français de dire que, franchement, on a passé une période très difficile au Kosovo, mais heureusement que dans ce temps, on a vu un soutien énorme de la part du Canada, de la part de notre alliés comme les États-Unis et d'autres pays démocratiques du monde qui ont soutenu le Kosovo et le peuple du Kosovo dans cette période très difficile. Faleminderit plenarën e herë, faleminderit Arta për punën, angazhimin që keni bërë. I nderuar zoti Lejdi Ago, faleminderit shumë për punën. Të nderuar gjithë ju diasporë jona, ngado që vini nga troja qytetare. Jam vërtet i emocionuar kur ju shoh që shumica prej jush 25 vite më parë jeni detyruar të alçoni vendin tonë. Por që sot jemi krenar me juve nga do që shkojmë, sepse jeni ambasador më të mirë të vendit tonë. Kështu që faleminderit shumë për angazhimin, edhe punën, edhe kontributin e juaj. Thank you very much.
I really enjoyed looking at the poster boards on the way in to hear the progress that the immigrants and refugees have made over 25 years, establishing and growing their families here. Waterloo region has been based and founded on immigration over the years. And as the MP for this riding with it, where this Ken Sailing Museum is located, it's a museum that features a lot about the settlement of the Waterloo region. And the galleries back there talk about the pioneers that came in the Conestoga wagons. You too came. We've welcomed people from around the world that are leaving terrible situations, as was the case in your case, and left terrible troubles behind, start a new life in Canada. And we're so glad that we were able to facilitate that in some small way. I always say when we welcome refugees and immigrants, the small things that Canada is able to do are paid back in great measure. We get so much more back from the immigrants and refugees that choose Canada than we ever do by rescuing you from a bad place. So I'm glad that that has worked out for you. And now I'll turn it over to Bart.
Thank you so much. My greetings, I write. Faleminderit, Albanian Community Association, leadership team, volunteers, members, and supporters on your 25th anniversary. A quarter of a century, a big milestone to have achieved. This is a tremendous milestone to have achieved and a testament to Pahimi Combater Waterloo Region's hard work. The efforts you have made are both noticed and appreciated. You should be very proud of all you have and continue to contribute. Through sharing your time, culture, folk dance, and more, you are instrumental in the building of our community, both within the Waterloo region and those of Albanian heritage. You prove that in Canada, diversity is truly our greatest strength. On behalf of the constituents of Waterloo, we remain on 2.5 decades and Gizua to many more. May the years ahead bring you even more success. Again, congratulations on your 25th anniversary. Signed, myself. Thank you so much for all you do. Don't stop being you. Don't stop representing your culture, your language, and all you do. You make Canada even better. That's exactly what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau breathes, and it's definitely what you demonstrate. So thank you so much.
It's wonderful to be here with all of you today for this special anniversary to mark the 25th anniversary of Kosovo and all of the work that's been done and all of the people who have come to our community from the region in the years since the falling apart of the former Yugoslavia. As many of you know, I too am an immigrant that came to Canada as a young boy back in 1969 and spent a lot of time not only with my own community but also your community, particularly during those difficult years in the early 90s as so many people were coming to the community and grappling with the challenges of what was happening back home. But it's wonderful to be able to be here today as to see how vibrant the Kosovo community has become to see the young people as well as people from different generations who are here celebrating. And as we'll see in a little while, see you not only celebrating this special anniversary, but also the maintenance of your culture, the food, the dance, the music, and so on, which is so important. And to the young people, I will say, never forget that, never forget your roots. The beauty of our city, the beauty of our region, the beauty of our country is the diversity that we all bring to Canada, that we bring to our community, and taking the best from each of our cultures and making Kitchener and Canada a great place to live. And so, on behalf of all of us, I just want to say, Palandirit Kijeni Ketu, and I hope you have a wonderful celebration today.
When the refugees came in 1999, I was a very small part-time translator up at Base Board and spent as many weekends as I could during that summer to translate not only your stories of how you came here and what brought you here and some of the horrific stories that I did hear, but I also got to experience a time that I saw positivity, I saw kindness and generosity and resilience in the community, and it really led me to look at an alternative career where I too could get back to the community, and that's why I chose to become a police officer. So as an inspector here today, on behalf of our senior leadership team, I take great pride in the relationship and community partnerships. So thank you for keeping this important milestone in our hearts and in your minds, and thank you for allowing me to be part of your celebration today. Padamandin, have a great day.
You're very humble saying how you played a small part as a translator, but as someone who studies the arrival of Kosovar refugees to Canada, I can tell you with no uncertainty how hard it was for us to find translators in '99 and how each of them was so valued by immigration and Red Cross officials. So thank you both for being here, and thank you for your work in '99. I know that my nieces were so excited when they saw you here and they realized that you were an Albanian police officer. It was an exciting moment for them, and I look forward to kids getting to know each other here today as well. Now, speaking of children, I'm excited that up next we have a dance performance by Shqiponia Tona. The children who will be performing are part of the Albanian language class. This class meets on Saturday mornings as part of the Waterloo Region District School Board's International and Indigenous Language Program. They will be performing to the song Volja e kaj tu jushtos. to especially thank Sonila Kolete for her time and dedication to these students and helping them take pride in their culture through dance. Now, I guess it's time that I actually introduce myself. My name is Krenara Retsai, or for the Canadians here who know me as Krenara Rakaj. I am a PhD candidate at Carleton University, specializing in international relations and migration. My dissertation focuses on the settlement of Kosovar Albanians in Canada. Throughout my research, I've had the privilege of traveling and presenting at conferences around the world, sharing the stories of Kosovar refugees and the incredible people who supported them. However, today's event holds a special place in my heart. In addition to being a researcher and PhD candidate, I am also a Kosovar refugee. I came to Canada in 1999 with my parents and three sisters, Chandresa, Fortesa, and Gresa, through Operation Parasol. My family lived at Canadian Forces Base Borden for months until we were eventually settled in Thunder Bay. After a few months in Thunder Bay, we moved to Waterloo Region, where we put down roots and made a home. This is the community I grew up in, and I even worked in this museum for 6 years. Therefore, it is a special honor to have co-organized Waterloo Region's first Albanian Cultural Day with my childhood friend, the brilliant and impressive Arta Kahirai. With the support of Waterloo Region Museum, the Kitchener-Waterloo Albanian Community Association, and the Republic of Kosovo's Consulate in Toronto. Today's event commemorates the 25th anniversary of the arrival of Kosovar Albanian refugees to Canada. This celebration honors their successful settlement and remarkable contributions to Waterloo Region over a quarter century. However, today's event is about more than Kosovar Albanians. It is about Albanians from all over who came to Canada and built lives here. These Albanians, despite their relatively small numbers and the threats they faced, rallied together to advocate for Kosovar lives in the 1990s. These Albanians showed incredible strength, conviction, perseverance, and resilience, which Arta will speak more about. This event is also about the Canadians who rallied around the Kosovar cause and took decisive action to end humanitarian suffering in 1999. This includes the politicians and diplomats who advocated for the cause of Kosovar Albanians, the Canadian military members who participated in various operations in Kosovo, the immigration and Red Cross workers and officials who worked tirelessly, often missing their families for weeks when Operation Parasol began, as one of our speakers, Sharon Walker, knows all too well. It also includes the churches, mosques, and community associations who fundraised and offered support, and the individuals and families who not only opened their homes, they opened their hearts to Kosovar refugees. Finally, this event is not only about the past, it is also about the present and the future. I remember as a kid growing up, I was so frustrated every time a teacher or a friend's family member or a friend's parent didn't know what Kosovo or Albanians were. I remember that every single time I came across a globe or a map or an atlas, I would immediately go to Europe, I would immediately look for Kosovo to check whether Kosovo was on it. I don't like to admit this, but I might have drawn the borders of Kosovo on a few of those maps. I have a high school teacher here, and I don't want to admit it in front of him, but yeah, that was me. I remember being jealous that other communities had huge booths and multicultural fairs and their own festivals and events. If Kosovo or Albanians were so much as mentioned in a TV show or represented at an event, I would beam with excitement. I longed to see myself and my community acknowledged and included. What I know now that I didn't understand then was that my community was working hard, even at the time, to establish themselves, and they were persevering despite many challenges along the way. Part of my motivation for today's events And the reason I emphasize so strongly that it be oriented towards family and children is because I want the next generation of Albanian children to see themselves, their history, and their families not only represented, but celebrated in Canada. My nieces and nephew are here today, and watching them run around the museum with their friends, seeing their culture and history celebrated, has been an incredible experience. So I thank each one of you for being part of this commemoration and celebration of resilience, unity, and the enduring spirit of Albanians in Canada and around the world. I especially want to extend my heartfelt thanks to my co-organizer, Arta Tahirai, for her unwavering dedication to today's event and to the Albanian community. Having known Arta and her family for most of my life, I recognize that this commitment is deeply rooted in values instilled by her parents. They arrived in Canada much earlier than families like mine, but they played an integral role in supporting Kosovar refugees. Arta will now come to the stage and talk about the experience that her family, living in Canada while there was a war in her homeland, went through. This is an experience I know is shared by many living in Canada even today, from different homelands. They continue to know this all too well. Arta?
Thank you so much, Pranare. Hello, everybody. Mirlita Dijithe. Thank you all so very much for being here today and celebrating our culture. My name is Arta Tahirai, and I'm a second-generation Kosovar Albanian born and raised in Waterloo. It is an honor to stand before you today to celebrate the region's first ever Albanian Heritage Day, as well as the 25th anniversary of the arrival of the Kosovar Albanian refugees. In the late 1990s, as the conflict tore through Kosovo, many families were forced to flee their homes, seeking safety and new beginnings. 1999 marked a significant chapter in my family's life and in the lives of many in this room. Many of us, including my family, lost loved ones and experienced the anguish of seeing our homeland torn apart. My dad has been in Canada since the 1960s and my mom since the 1980s. And prior to 1999, the Albanian community here was very small. When Canada welcomed the Kosovar Albanian refugees with open arms, the small but mighty diaspora here did the same. Recognizing the challenge of starting anew in a foreign land and the heartbreak of leaving your home behind, the Albanian diaspora rallied together to offer a sense of belonging and a platform for integration. Whether it be through translation, community dinners, acts of service, or simply providing emotional support, the aim was to make them feel at home. When the Kosovar Albanians arrived in Canada, not a single individual was a stranger to us. As Albanians, they were members of our family and members of our community. They brought with them the rich tapestry of our culture and inspired us with their stories of determination, strength, and survival. Kosovar Albanian refugees seamlessly resettled, built thriving lives in Canada, and found great success in many fields. The diaspora grew, and we were all able to foster friendships that have lasted 25 years later. Like Renata shared in her remarks, when I was growing up, nobody knew what Kosovo was, much less where it was. But now it brings me a great sense of pride to tell people I'm Albanian, which is always met with a positive, warm reaction, and usually a comment about Dua Lipa. I love seeing my community grow and mobilize. Events like today help to enrich our community with tradition and music, and it allows us to come together to reflect on the past and to celebrate our future. In fact, this year, a number of initiatives have been organized to mark the 25th anniversary of the arrival of the Kosovar Albanians to Canada. This includes an initiative where Albanian communities across Canada volunteered at food banks and donated blood as a thank you to Canada. Last month, a special exhibit opened up at the Canadian Museum of Immigration at Pier 21 in Halifax about Operation Parasol. Today, as we gather to celebrate our culture, we also honor the resilience of the Albanian people, our unwavering unity, compassion, hospitality, and unbreakable bond, reminding us that in times of crisis, Our strength lies in our ability to come together. To conclude, I would like to thank and extend my deep gratitude to the Waterloo Region Museum, the Kitchener-Waterloo Albanian community, the Kosovo Consulate in Toronto, and to my incredible childhood friend Krenare, whose name means proud in Albanian. You live up to your name every day. Thank you all for making this very special event possible. Ju faleminderoj shumë.
Our next speaker is Sharon Walker. It is really my great honor to introduce Sharon. She was one of the very first people I interviewed for my research. And so it means a lot to me because she worked at CFB Trenton where my family arrived. And I kind of got the moment to imagine ourselves together there, me as a child and her so committed to my well-being. And it really was a full circle moment for me. So I encourage all of you that arrived at CFB Trenton to introduce yourself to her after, because I know that she would love to hear your stories. Sharon Walker has over 30 years of experience in the field of emergency management in municipal government and non-governmental sectors. She is currently the manager of emergency planning for the City of Vaughan. Before joining the City of Vaughan, she was a branch manager with the Red Cross Quinte and Durham region branches. She was the Red Cross lead at Canadian Forces Base Trenton for Kosovo refugee humanitarian evacuation. During her career, she has managed many types of disasters, including multi-unit fires, ice storms, tornadoes, hazardous material releases, the COVID-19 pandemic, and the such. She has mentored over 65 students in emergency management and public administration through experiential learning opportunities with her department. So please join me in welcoming Sharon Walker.
It is truly an honor for me to be here. It's hard to believe it's been 25 years because some of my memories are like it just happened yesterday. So please forgive me if I get a bit emotional. I'm going to tell some of the stories and how this mission actually formed the basis of my career. And I use a lot of my learnings today at the City of Vaughan. So as Grenier said, I'm Sharon Walker. I was the Red Cross lead at the Canadian Forces Base Trenton. In my profession as in disaster management, I see people in the worst point of their lives, and I only see them for short periods of time. So it's absolutely wonderful to come and see you 25 years later, because we very rarely get to see what the outcomes are. Like many of you, I too faced fear and uncertainty. To give you some context, I was a branch manager of field operations for the Quinte branch at that time of the evacuation, or the airlift. So my branch spanned from the south border of Algonquin Park right to the tip of Picton, and almost to the border of Kingston and out to Brighton. So it was very large territory. I was the only paid staff. And I had 350 volunteers. And our job was to do all the field services except for homemaking. I got a phone call the night before from my regional director saying I had to meet her and the Deputy Secretary General of Disaster Management at the air base the next day. So I went down and I'm wondering, okay, I'm just going to be the community liaison. So I'm going to be communicating between the base and the local community for Red Cross. Well, after 10 hours of touring through the base and pointing out what we needed done in order to facilitate the airlift and ensure that we could do this successfully, John Mulvihill turned to a room full of stars and stripes and uniforms, and I was the only female, and said, "Walker's in charge." And the look on my face must have been absolute terror, but I quickly overcame that. And I love a challenge, that's my personality. And I knew you guys were coming from something so far worse than my fears. And we had to be on our game. And so I grabbed the bull by the horn, so to speak, and said, we're going to do this. And I today use these learnings in the City of Vaughan. So one of the first things I learned was the amazing capacity of humanity. The Red Cross had a saying, the power of humanity, and that was so true for this event. We were dealing with some of you in the worst moments of your lives, and citizens in the community organizations of Belleville and Trenton and surrounding communities really stepped up to help. Because my first thought is, how am I going to do this with only 350 volunteers? We put a call out to the community, and my volunteer ranks swelled from 350 to 1,400. And that was just the surrounding communities and the city itself. People from all walks of life were willing to do whatever was needed to ensure that you felt welcome, safe, and secure. We had captains of industry, we had CAOs, CFOs, all the alphabet letters of the different organizations, and we had a judge actually come out to help. The second valuable lesson I learned was teamwork. The federal government departments, Canadian Forces, and Red Cross personnel, along with community organizations, the first thing we did is we threw away our politics, we left our egos at the door, and there was no posturing. We had a goal in mind. We needed to make sure that you felt welcome, safe, secure, and that we were going to do everything possible to do that while protecting your human dignity. The way that this team worked, the group cohesion, should be a case study in how to do the best possible response ever. The way that we worked together was phenomenal. Nobody was out there to say, I'm better than the rest, or I can do it all and I don't need you. We were there to create an environment in which you felt safe, secure, and welcome. It was amazing. I can't speak enough for the Canadian Forces on just what an efficient group they are in converting barracks to living to homes, turning the air movements unit into a welcome party, turning the glider base at where we did the immigration, so those of you who were there know about the glider base. Well, all around the wall were airplane parts when we did our tour. Within 24 hours, those airplane parts were all gone. And they had set it up to be a welcoming center for everybody. And they were phenomenal to work with. Whatever we needed, they got for us. We also could tackle any issue. No matter how difficult it was, we were there. We were going to find a way to do it. And we tried a lot of new things. And we really had to depend on a lot of suppliers in the community. So one of the big suppliers we had was Zellers. And Zellers provided the Zeddy bears. I'm sure some of you have the Zeddy bears still. They were a hot commodity. Everybody was fighting on who could give them out. But it was amazing how incredible Zellers was in stepping up to the plate, because we were given a list of clothing that you should all get by immigration. And I took one look at the list and said, absolutely not. You guys are going to look like some weird summer camp. We wanted to make sure we got clothing for you that was appropriate, that met your needs and made you feel like an individual, or else you all would have been in sweatsuits. And that was not something I wanted to see. So Zellers worked with their suppliers and brought in amazing clothes. And at that time, Garanimals was a big thing in kids' clothing. Some of you might remember this if you're as old as I am. That it was mix and match clothing by animals on the tag. And that's what I asked for, is I wanted you to be able to have a whole sets of clothing for the kids, that it wasn't just one thing. I wanted it set up like a shopping store, where you could go and have that sense of self. I could go pick out what I wanted. So one of the other groups is school children in Hastings and Prince Edward County got together and gathered school supplies to provide to the base, and we actually had a school set up at Canadian Forces Base Trenton, because some of the evacuees at that base were actually teachers, and created a school, which was so wonderful to see. One of the lessons I learned, and I use it today in training city staff and students, is never assume you know what's best for people. Always ask them what they need. So one of the significant events that happened during this time was the 75th anniversary of the air show. This is a big deal. It takes 2 years to plan an air show. And we were told by some mental health professionals that the show had to be canceled or all of you moved off the base. We were being housed at Canadian Forces Base Trenton because it would be too traumatic for you. And this argument went on for weeks at the meeting, and Red Cross being neutral and impartial, we couldn't really step in. But I got sick of it after a while. And I put up my hand at the meeting and said, has anybody actually asked the evacuees how they feel about it? And the answer, of course, was no. So it just worked out that that evening, there was a camp council meeting because we had set up almost a town council on there. So I went to that meeting and through interpreters explained the situation to the camp council leaders. The response I got back was, we want the show to go forward. We want to cheer the planes that saved our lives. And it was mind-blowing, to say the least. And I went back to that meeting, which we're always at 7 o'clock in the morning for some odd reason. And there's a group of 25 people around the table, just staring at me with bated breath. And I said, please know one thing, never ever assume you know what's best for somebody. I said, this is the response I got. And I shared the response that I got from the council with the group. And the cheers that went up in the room were phenomenal. I went down to the base the day, it was a long weekend that the air show went on for. And I went down to the cadet camp at Trenton, where all of you were being housed. And you could drive a Mack truck down there and not run into anybody. Everybody was over at the air show. It was phenomenal to see. And to this day, I tell my staff, please make sure you talk to the people you're helping. It's also important for responders to keep our families informed. I was very fortunate. I lived in Belleville, and I lived 15 minutes from the base, so I could go home and see my family for about 4 hours a day. And was to sleep. Very long days, but our volunteers were deployed for 21 straight days before they went home. So it was important that you always stay in touch with your family. I learned what patriotism means to me. I was asked a question by a teenage boy who was traveling to a school to pick up supplies with me. And he asked me, why aren't Canadians patriotic? And it threw me, it really threw me, because I did not see myself as being unpatriotic. And I really had to think about it, because the question did take me by surprise. And I then asked him, what did he mean by being patriotic? And he said, we don't wave our flag and we don't sing our anthem a lot. And then I thought a few minutes again, and I responded that patriotism to Canadians is not about waving a flag or singing a song. It's about how we treat each other. I also learned not to take what we have in Canada for granted. One day at the glider base in the processing area, I was doing my regular rounds just to see how everything was going. And I came to the children's play area, where a young child was filled with glee, playing with every toy they came across, and was squealing and laughing and just having a great time. And I turned and I looked at his dad, who was crying. And I went to him and asked, is everything all right? And he said to me, everything is perfect. This is the first time my child can play safely. And that was not something any of us in Canada who have not been through it conceptualize. Because we haven't been in a war since 1812. And finally, the most importantly, I learned that people are resilient. It was wonderful to see how quickly the cadet camp recovery was turned into a community. As I said earlier, a school was set up. There was a women's area in which was completely outfitted with sewing machines and there was clothing and notions. And one of the things that I had to do is take the Lieutenant Governor at that time for Ontario, Hilary Weston, on a tour of the camp. And she was so impressed by what the women were doing, sewing. And we were so thrilled to see how have our first wedding. A young couple got married at the base that our volunteers arranged for everything for the wedding. We had kids areas, so we had service clubs take a garage where they packed like lawn tractors and all kinds of things and completely converted into a daycare center. And then the base wanted us to convert it back, go bigger. But it was so wonderful to see how quickly the people living at Camp Recovery transitioned into a community and started bringing things back that they hadn't seen for a while, and to be able to continue to move forward. There's a pen and ink drawing of Camp Recovery that hangs prominently in my office, and I'm frequently asked by others of what Camp Recovery means. So I explain to them my role at the possible evacuation at Trenton. And I'm frequently asked by others, what is the most proud moment of my 30-year career in disaster management? And while without a second thought, I always say Operation Parasol. Thank you so much for letting me be part of your lives. And it is so wonderful to be here to celebrate this milestone.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for your remarks and for your exemplary leadership, dedication, and support to COSCO over the years. Up next, I'm pleased to introduce Claudio Mustakas, who is a former senior manager with the Canada Border Service Agency in Citizenship and Immigration Canada. Claudia has over 40 years of dedicated service in the Canadian federal government, including international diplomatic assignments as a visa officer in the United States and in the Middle East. During the COSCO movement, he was the manager of immigration in the Kitchener, Waterloo, and Guelph area and assisted in the resettlement of all Kosovars that were descended to this area. He was responsible for getting housing, food, and any other living needs until the newcomers became established. Claudio has twice been awarded the Governor General Award of Peace Officer Exemplary Medal, recognizing his 20 and 30 years of service. After retiring as Chief of Enforcement at the Canada Border Services Agency in December 2010, he founded Mustakas and Associates Immigration Consulting in Waterloo, assisting employers and individuals with their immigration needs. Claudio also works with Queen's University Law School, teaching the Canadian Immigration Enforcement course to new immigrant practitioners. He is also certified to represent clients before the Immigration Refugee Board, specifically in spousal refusal, residency appeals, and inadmissibility hearings. Claudio had the pleasure of traveling to COSCO in 2019 and found it to be a beautiful country. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Claudio Mustakas.
Very much. I'm not sure who she was talking about. Anyways, back in 25 years ago, I used to be the manager for this area. And I welcomed about 400 to 500 Kosovars in this area. I worked very closely with a very good friend of mine, and I liked him at the time. And we were able to resettle everybody's. And then we also had to help some people to leave because they wanted to go back. They didn't want to stay here. And it was funny because I met some of those people when I was back when I was in Kosovo several years ago. And they were asking me, how can I get back here? So, I had to tell them, sorry, that's the way it is. Thank you. But Canada has always been a country that welcomed people that were in crisis. In '89, I was sent to Lebanon during the Civil War. And my job was to get people out from there. We actually got out about 25,000 at that time. And then in 1999, we did the same thing for the Kosovars. And a lot of people don't realize that, Canada is a land of opportunity for people. You don't have to be born in Canada to succeed in Canada. I was born in Cyprus, and I think I became successful in this country. I know a lot of people who are from other countries. It's not like the United States. In order to become president, you have to be born in the United States. In Canada, and anybody can become prime minister. So I want to welcome the new people here, Consul General. met a couple of times, and I'm honored to know you, and I hope you enjoy the festivities today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Claudio, for your remarks and all the work you've done with the Albanian community throughout the years. I was really excited to hear that you had visited Kosovo and liked it. I know that every Albanian is excited when someone visits Kosovo and likes it. And if anyone in this room has not been, I guarantee you will like it, so you should visit. Now I want to welcome back to the stage the children's dance group Shqiponia Kona for their final performance.
Coming up next is a musical performance by Hamdi Roche. Having arrived in Canada as a Kosovar refugee in 1999 through Operation Parasol, Hamdi's journey is a testament to the resilience and the universal language of music. Over the years, Hamdi has performed at numerous diaspora events while demonstrating how music can keep Kosovars connected to their homeland while thriving in Canada. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Hamdi Roche.
që se bashkë Mora fjallë, mora bangun, mora qakun Ne thurkan bashkët gjendari ti këndoj na dem jashari ti këndoj Tash sa vjen se shepre kasin dhe ne qakun Tash sa vjen se shetrejnicen Tash sa vjen dhe Mitrovicen Tash sa vjen Qose ty të kërkone qitë Kosova ty nga dhe
And showing us what a powerful tool music can be for keeping people connected to their culture. I know that that song always makes me teary-eyed, so I will come back from it though. Our final speakers are Lady, Ago, and Ariana Eleze. Lady is originally from Albania, but attended university in Macedonia. This gave him insight into Albanian communities across borders and across regions. He works as a financial advisor in Waterloo region, but he is dedicated to seeing Albanian communities thrive in Canada. He was the leader of the Albanian Community Association in Regina, Saskatchewan from 2018 to 2019, and has been the leader of the Albanian Community Association of Waterloo region since 2023. Ariana Eleze is a finance officer of the Waterloo region Albanian Community Association. She works as a financial planner at the Bank of Montreal. In her spare time, she is dedicated to advancing the Albanian community in Canada and is actively involved in both the Waterloo Region Community Association and the Kitchener-Waterloo Albanian Women's Forum. So join me in welcoming Lede and Ariana.
Faleminderit shumë plenare. Faleminderit gjithë që keni ardhur sot këtu, ju falenderoj nga zemra për përkrahjen masive. I would like to thank you everyone today. Special thanks to these two amazing women for putting this event together. I would like to thank also the Waterloo Region Museum and their team to support the making this event happen. Today we are celebrating Albanian Heritage Day and the 25th anniversary of Kosovo refugees coming to Canada during the genocide and ethnic cleansing of Kosovo War 1999. Every piece of work in this event is a memory for all of those who have experienced the warm welcoming in Canada during this period, including my husband and his family. Throughout the day, each part of this event had me go back in time and brought memories of the first days when I moved to Canada, almost 21 years ago. Like every newcomer, when I moved to Canada, I had dreams. But I shall say that my dreams were too small compared to the dreams Canada had to offer for me. As Kim Campbell said once, Canada is the homeland of equality, justice, and tolerance. Today, I proudly stand in front of you together with Katie as a member of Waterloo Albanian Community Leadership, with a list of resources and supports for our members to show that there is a team of dedicated volunteers to help guide and organize events, keeping our culture and tradition alive here in Canada for all generations. My message to all my fellow Albanian Canadians is a quote from Walt Disney. All our dreams become true if we have the courage to pursue them. And the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair, Mayor Burbanovic, pleasure to meet today Aaron Walker, Mr. Mustafas, Officer Zima, and a great friend and supporter of our community, Mr. Kadri Dakai. Thank you for being here today. Vlezërit e motra shqiptare, faleminderit që keni qenë këtu. It's kind of hard when you speak to an audience like this, but I'll try to keep it easy because honestly, we feel home in Canada today. We started a campaign called I'm Albanian and I feel home, thank you, and we really mean it. We have today 25 years of the anniversary of Kosovo Albanians coming to Canada because of the war, but we have to think and be grateful for Canadian people who gave us help at the most crucial moments of our history, modern history. We are proud Albanians, but now we are proud Canadians as well. So what we're trying to do in our community is to give a lesson to our children by taking action to recognize the help that this nation and government gave to us and teach them to be there for the community and those in need, like Canadians were for us at the time of the war. I want to say thank you to Renare and Arta for organizing this today. It's a pleasure to be here, and let me be honest with you, Albanians will never forget, and let me repeat myself, will never forget the help that we got from the Canadian people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ariana and Lady. Faleminderit shumë. That concludes our program, so we would like to extend our deep thanks and appreciation to everyone who spoke, participated, and performed today.
Thank you from me as well for everyone who came out. I know it's a Sunday, and I really appreciate everyone who came out here today. The galleries are open, it's free admission, so I encourage you to explore the galleries. These two buildings in the Living Heritage Village are also open. You'll notice that there's refreshments, tea, coffee, drinks, and snacks on the side. I encourage you to help yourselves there. We'll be playing a little bit of music, so you guys are welcome to dance and have fun. And as someone mentioned today, it's exactly 25 years ago this week that Kosovo was liberated. And we're celebrating what Canada did for Kosovo Albanians, but we're also celebrating what Albanians have done for ourselves. And Kosovo would not have been liberated without the men and women who gave up their lives for Kosovo, and all the men and women in this room who had to make incredibly difficult decisions about what their lives are going to look like. And I know that a lot of you guys keep strong ties to Kosovo and continue to keep those ties. Finally, I want to highlight the posters you saw when you walked in. Those tell the stories of 25 Albanians in the region and what their lives have looked like here. Of course, that's not representative of everyone, and there's so many stories to be told. And I look forward to my research continuing and to telling your stories, and I thank you for being here.